day. And I'm very happy to be here with you because many topics arose in my mind in this last weekend, and I wish to share them with you. And thank you for your questions, Fernando.
I thank you, Eti. I thank you for opening uh, uh, this space to questions, because uh, the questions still on our mind, you know. So
So let's pop into the whiteboard and see what is happening there. And of course, you can ask questions, but before we move, if you have now something on your mind, please feel free to share it.
I'm okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, who is in the whiteboard? Philip, are you on the whiteboard? Fernando?
I am today.
You are. And Fernando, can you see the text?
Eti, I opened the old one, the old link, so I will have to go to the new one.
Okay.
It will take a minute, but you can start. I am listening.
Yes. So, let's focus the text, and maybe Philip can you please read the text?
hmm
Also, Felipe is here. Good morning, Felipe.
If a man have two wives, the one beloved and the other hated, and they have borne him children, both the beloved and the hated, and if the firstborn son be hers that was hated, then it shall be, in the day that he causeth his sons to inherit that which he hath, that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn before the son of the hated, who is the firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the hated, but by giving him a double portion of all that he hath. For he is the first fruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his.
Thank you so much. Shalom, Felipe. We see here you on YouTube. Thank you so much. When you read the text, what comes to your mind? Who is the
It's pretty
man?
strong.
Yeah. Who is the man, the whip? What is it about?
It is interesting. The first thing that comes to my mind is it's about the difficulty from the one who reads the Torah only in the pshat, only in the literal meaning,
Yes.
because
Yes.
how can we argue that the Lord God is speaking about uh, things like this, like
Mm-hmm.
to hate a son or something that it seems like
Mm-hmm.
uh, it sounds absurd,
Mm-hmm.
and when we go to the secret, like from what the Luria writings, we see that
Mm-hmm.
it's not about this, right? It's something else. So I'm curious to follow your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
about this.
Is it when you see the text, you think about like men and two wives? What do you think? What comes to your mind when you see the text? Naturally, before you think about Luria and Philon, what comes to you? What, when you see the text, Philip, you said it's a strong text. What comes to you?
Mm. It's very concentrated on love and hate, and it's picking out specific people as well,
Mm-hmm.
based on just quickly off the top of my head, based on position, but in uh, uh, certain scenario as well. This isn't uh, a, a, a general occurrence as well.
Thank you for pointing this, the beloved one and the hated one. And Felipe says, makes me think of Leah and Rachel. Let's look into the words. Of course, it's not about people. We speak here about qualities. Let's see what is the beloved one in us and what is the hated one in us. This is quite interesting, because it's not about physical children and not about physical women or men. This is the qualities inside of each and every one of us. Yet let's look into the word. Let's start with Ahuva, the beloved one here. Ahuva. This is the beloved one, and I would like to write it here. We shall move a bit with the board. Ahuva, beloved one. Ahuva. What is the value of Ahuva? 1, 5, 6, 2, and 7 brings us to
21. 21.
Yes. 1 second. 6, 12. Yeah. 21. And the hated one? Sorry, I jumped here. Sorry, Philip. The hay is 5 here. This is why I didn't.
It's okay.
I made a mistake. I jumped here because it has to work with the other mathematics. Here.
Good that you noticed.
Yes, it has to work mathematically. Here. What do we have now?
19.
19. Does it bring something into mind?
Yahoo.
Yeah, again? Fernando?
Yod Hevav. The 3 first letters of the... No, not.
No.
It is...
Who has the value?
I'm sorry.
Which name has the value of
Hava,
19?
Hava.
Very good. Chava.
Hava.
Eve. Very good. Eve. Eve has the value of 19. Now, let's look into the hated one. Snu'ah. Hated. We have 356, 1, and 5.
$362.
362. Look what we do with the numbers. 3 double 26. What do we get?
78.
78. The value of what?
78. Lehem.
Yeah, very good. Lechem, bread. And dream. Bread and dream, yes?
Yes.
So, what is the hated one in us, in a man? What is the quality that man hates, and what is the tendency that he prefers, I would say?
Okay. I think it is we hate the unconscious. We hate to be alone and to be with one darkness, with the dream, and we love the experience, right?
Yes, we love the experience, and yes, this is what also Felipe writes here. It is also 36, double 2, which is 72, or twice Leah, Yes, so 72, the wisdom itself, the
Yes.
abstract, alone, to be alone. We'd rather have the experience. Now, what is the text? 1 second, I have to start the air condition. 1 second here. Excuse me. According to this text, what does a person supposed to do? Or suppose to give preference to what? To which quality and to which son? Or understanding inside of himself? Hello? Hello?
I'm thinking it.
Yes.
I'm thinking.
If a person has a conflict in
He
himself,
has to go to the hated one, right? Giving the son of the hated the double portion of the alcohol
yes,
that he had.
yes, yes. Our when
Interesting.
yes,
So,
when we take our budget, our days here are limited. Nobody knows, and if we have to decide what to do with the time, what is the let's say advice in those verses? What is the advice?
to stay in the shade, uh, double time from the experience. You know?
Yes, yes.
To process the experience, maybe to.
Philon reads this as the hated one is the virtue. Or Leah, this is the virtue. The virtue is hated. And the children or the firstborn of the virtue is also hated. With the virtue we cannot commerce. And the beloved one is the time, what happens in time. It's like it's the same relation between Sarah and Hagar, or Leah and Rachel. Now, the verse 17, which speaks about give him twice, how does it say here, double portion. It is not that we give the firstborn of the hated double portion. It's not something that we do. This is the law of how things are. The son of the spirit or the son of the virtue inherits from heavens the double, not that we give him. Do we understand?
Yes. And we have another. Please, Philippe, go ahead.
I was just going to mention an interesting observation that making this from a metaphorical point,
Yes.
that these verses speaking about beloved and hated, referring to them in an abstract as children, as they were just born, could they be taken as childish feelings or actions, as through the verses they're all referred to as basically newly born children.
I'm trying to see what you're referring to. The son of the beloved one is like the understanding that we have from our feeling and sensation with the world. This is what you mean?
Some of, yeah. So it says in verse 15, for first example, and they have borne him children, both the
Mm-hmm.
beloved and hated.
Yes.
And then verse 16 also says, it says to inherit that he may not make the son of the beloved the firstborn. So it's referring to it as just birthed as well, a newly born.
Mm-hmm.
And verse 17, but he shall acknowledge the firstborn.
Yes. It's not about
And
physical.
also,
Yes, yes, really.
mm, just that it says in there as well, for he is the first fruits of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying?
That it says here the first fruit of his strength, and the first fruit of his strength is his logos. This is what Philon says. This is the logos, and we hate it. We'd rather spend time. This is the logos, the divine logos. We hate it. And this is feelings, sensations in us. This is in one person. All of this system happens in one person. Doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man.
Mm.
The divine,
Mm.
we hate the divine logos because this is what connects us to the one.
Mm.
Iti,
Yes.
I was thinking also that with the letters that we have in the hated,
Yes.
I'm not sure, but it seems to me that we could write Hanush, the
Yes. Yeah.
mortal maybe, or the
Yes.
because you start speaking that we have time here, we we usually forget that we are mortals, that we have our time counted in
Hmm.
this place, and if we were aware, maybe we could take more consciousness, to take care of things and not to exploit things. So I was just came to me, but I'm not sure even if this Anosh could be translated as the mortal or the human or
Oh, the
something.
wounded.
The wounded, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The wounded.
The wounded. Felipe is writing on YouTube that makes sense because in the case of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the firstborn is not the first that actually came out of the womb. Exactly. The firstborn is the one who has the speech. This is why Jacob gets the blessing of the firstborn, and so later Joseph as the firstborn. Instead of Judah or Reuben, Joseph is the firstborn. That's true. So it's not about men and wives and children. It's about a person or human and his relation to the divine logos or to the virtue and to his let's say occurring in time. So people like to spend time. We use the term in English to spend time, like if it was money, to spend time. And people ask, how do you pass the time? Like if it's something that we're actually moving. But just to give us a perspective about it. Philon, again, Philon says, this is the divine logos. And the rest is feelings, sensations, moods, mood swings.
Interesting.
It's not that we actively give the firstborn of the hated his share of the firstborn. It's not that we do something. This is how it is. Because this is the divine logos, and this is the divine logos firstborn is the word. Yes? So it has inherit the double in time and outside of time. This is the meaning of double. Like Fernando, what you just expressed on Discord today. There is a rose and there is a rose.
Yes. And in that book about Hebrew astrology, I think that it explains that we live in two worlds at the same time.
Yes.
It is like the Weinreb speaks that we have a supernal life, maybe a life that is eternal, and a life that we are living here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Augustine, uh, Saint Augustine also speak about the city of God. That is like it is the same idea that we live in two worlds at one time, at once, but you need to connect both.
Yes. Civitas Dei. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. True. True. Questions?
And
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious about the picture that you brought us today about
This
this
is for
film
you. This is
Persona.
for you.
This is, because I watched this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets a deep impression on me, because we can see a lot of symbols, and it is a beautiful movie, a beautiful scene, and I couldn't talk with anybody, but it is mostly symbolic, but nobody sees nowadays this movie,
We do.
But
We
it's
do.
but it is amazing, yes. It makes you go to the inside, to the within.
What do we see in the picture? It is taken from a movie by Ingmar Bergman. He's a Swedish director. He produced a movie in 1966. So, and the movie is named Persona. What do we see in the picture?
Would I be going too far
We
if I
see
said that one is a beloved and the other is hatred?
Yes. Who is the beloved and who is the hatred?
Sitting in the chair would be beloved,
Yes. Yes.
judging by posture.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
True.
And the hatred is definitely giving judgment.
Questions?
Crossed arms, closed mouth.
Yes.
No questions.
Yes.
Or thoughts?
Yes,
Did
Unless
you?
someone has something to say.
yes.
Yes, Philip, did you see the movie Persona?
No, I haven't. No.
Challenging, a challenging one to watch it.
Yes.
What kind of style of movie is it?
Fernando?
It it is difficult even to summarize, but but I can say that it's about a very famous actress that is this beloved one that is reading, and she is an actress, so she has a lot of personas, and you know, like the idols, the the people cheer her up like a lot, and people admire her, but she is passing through a difficulty to know uh, oneself, to know herself, you know, because she's trying to find her deep self, you know? So
Uh-huh.
she stay in silence, in deep silence. She do not speak with no one, and and people think that she is the one who is crazy. So the other the other one is a nurse, a very simple nurse, you know, a simple person without any intellectual development. She is like a humble person, but very impressed by the actress, you know. And the treatment that
Mhm.
they recommend is the two women to go to an island, so the nurse go to take care of the woman, but the woman stay almost a good part of the time in the deepness, you know.
And what was the
And
treatment for, sorry?
it is just to stay in the island, but it happens that the nurse starts to go deeper, and it's not easy, you know. She
But you
became like
mentioned that
crazy.
they go for treatment.
Yes,
What was the
she goes
treatment
for
for?
treatment. It's to be retired from the world just for some days, to be in the
Okay, nice.
nature. Yes, but I think that the nurse didn't have the vessel to go to the darkness, you know. So when someone who is only in the experience needs to give a break and to stay in the silence, or to, it is not easy. And this movie shows very well how difficult it is to go to the darkness, to go to the hated, right? So I love it, Eti. Thank you for bringing this.
You're most welcome.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Any questions before we move?
I'll just keep that movie in mind if I do come past it sometime.
Hmm.
I would like to listen to your impression, Eti, and why you took this picture to the class. You know, what
Because
was
it
in your
is
mind?
subconscious. Because once I was writing a post about Parashat Vayetze, about um, in this weekly portion when Jacob goes to the house of Laban and there's the marriage that he did not give consent to. And I chose at this time. I think we saw the movie Persona, and the image was very strong about the two sides. And today, when I read the verses, it came to me back again. It's like what Felipe says. It's like Rachel and Leah, and so on. And I remember that you're also interested in psychology, and so. And I was reading today that uh, Bergman established um, this movie inspired by Carl Jung, and I find it quite interesting. So I would like to connect Carl Jung and Bergman and the story and the biblical text and Philon and Luria, because Fernando also has a question about Luria. So go ahead, ask your question.
No, just thank you, Eti, about this. And it makes me remember about the Red Book of Carl Jung, also that he tried to go to the deepness, to the darkness, and almost became crazy as well. It was tough for him. It wasn't pleasuring. It was something very difficult. And the question that I wish to ask you, Eti, it's also about this portion of the Torah, right? Because we can read in this portion Kitzaveh that we have I think that is in the chapter 21, the verses 10 and 11 that speaks about the one who goes to war.
Yes.
It is possible to him to, if he likes a woman, he can take this woman for him in force, it seems, almost, right? With force. And if he likes the woman, he can stay and marry with the woman. And if he didn't like anymore, he can, send her back. And like I said in the beginning of our meeting, I wonder how the one who is reading the Torah as only something literal could manage to think that God is saying something like this, because it seems to me that it's something inner, something very deep.
Yes.
But the pshat level could be very brutal,
Yes. I'll try to bring it 1 second here. When you read about this verse, what comes to you, Fernando?
I think how difficult it will be to talk about this. It is difficult to understand, and I tend to think about all the tradition and how the one who is in power and have this hierarchical attitude to know the Torah could use some passages like this to justify brutal things.
Okay. This is what you think about it, yeah? Or you think if in the eyes of people who read it literal, yes?
Yes, it is. Yes, if you
So.
take it literally, it is the tree of knowledge, It
Yes.
is
Good. If you take it literally. Now, let's read the verses. They are here on the whiteboard. Let's read them in English, see what is happening here. Who would like to read? Philip, maybe?
When thou goest forth to battle against thine enemies, and the Lord thy God delivereth them into thy hands, and thou carriest them away captive, and seest among the captives a woman of goodly form, and thou hast a desire unto her, and wouldest take her to thee to wife.
So, thank you so much, Philip. What about the verse speak about? And this is not literal woman. Or this is a hint. This is not about a literal woman. Who is very beautiful? Who is very fair?
Rachel.
In a captivity. You see a woman in a captivity.
It's Shekhinah.
Yeah, the soul. a person goes to life and suddenly he meets what? A soul in captivity. This is a very beautiful woman. A soul in captivity, a soul which is locked in space and time.
Whoa. Are these the verses just before the verses from earlier?
Yeah, yes, this is from the same chapter. Yes, 21. Yes, this is the verse before. If you want, I can bring the rest of it if there's a need. But
Up to you. I don't
it is good to
feel it
focus.
necessary.
It is very good to focus in this because you see, Fernando, do you understand
Yes, I understand it.
that you
Yeah,
shall go
the
for a
follow.
war, a battle for a war about your enemies? About your enemies is not a legion from France. The enemies are the enemies of the soul. That tells you all the time that if you don't live or spend your time in football clubs or something, I just take an example, rough example that people will understand. And you don't want to participate in this parade of football games, of sports games, or what people consider to be considered as fun. So it's not that your friends inviting you to a sport game, because before you talk to them, in your mind starts a speech between you and their perspective. And I said, let's go to a football. I just exaggerate. Let's go to a football game. Why not? And before you reject this offer by the phone or by email or by text, the struggle starts in the mind. The enemies is not physical human beings, but all kinds of perspectives that we picked up during our time here.
It says here, after thou carriest them away captive and seest them among the captives a woman of goodly form, and thou hast a desire unto her. It mentions the desire part, which is the flesh form of feeling, and it's mentioning that right after uh, having the perspective that was just mentioned about meeting the spirit after that in the womanly form. Or also mentioning in the Bible about staying away, not necessarily neglecting, but not following your fleshly desires. And here it's saying, has to desire unto her your the woman that you've just seen, and take her thee to wife.
Philippe is writing, 1 second, Philippe. Zohar speaks about Esther. Esther was this foreign woman in Ahasuerus' kingdom. Venus is writing, hard to come to understanding of with the baggage put into. This is interesting. So again, let's, Philip, please try to say again, and I will try to collect what is written here again.
Yeah, of course. So here it's mentioning basically about having a desire in as a fleshly desire after seeing the woman of goodly form,
This is not a
which in,
fleshly. It is not a fleshly desire.
oh, it's not.
No, no, no,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. Not
Hmm.
at all. It
Okay,
is
that changes
just
it.
this. This is just an example. Let's say people invite someone to a football game, and he managed to reject first in his mind, and then to stand against his friend and say, "Excuse me, I cannot go." Just to push it away, and suddenly he has a relief from he doesn't have to go to this football with millions of people to sit there after the corona, or in general something happened to him and he doesn't want to be with those people, to live this life form. He managed to push them away. He doesn't have to go to any football game. He has a relief. He is in his home, in his chair, and he has sigh of relief. Wow, I don't have to go there. What a relief. And suddenly the soul, he has a relief, and he has a contact with his inner soul, because he doesn't have to play out like the beloved one. He doesn't have to
I see.
play.
So it was.
It's he has suddenly acknowledgement. He recognized the soul because he's not out. He's noticed there's an inner being inside of himself. And God, and here it says, and the Lord, and it says, and the Lord deliverance. It is, He gives it to you. Lord is the name. Havaya, the Tetragrammaton, is a being name. I don't have to go out. I don't have to act in the field, to drink beer, to eat popcorn. I don't have to shout and to curse. I can be. I just sit and be. I don't have to protect myself. And suddenly this sense of being, the soul is there. I don't have to act out and about to do something, mechanical speech or so. It's just there. It's just being. And this is, it seems to us that we have captivity. We have a caption on this being, because finally the general struggle is deleted. I didn't go to a football game. And suddenly there's a encounter with the soul. And you notice it's a very beautiful. The soul is very beautiful. And you want this, or the person wants this relation with the soul. He wants this marriage. He wants to relate to the soul, to the part of him that he cannot see or touch, but it constantly feeds him with life. Do we understand?
That's a good description. The desire that he had was an effect. That he received.
Yes, Fernando?
No,
Shelton
it's
is here.
interesting. Just I was. Hello, Shelton. Shalom.
Nice to see you here, Shelton. Yes, Fernando? Okay.
It is interesting that in the following verses, it says that the woman needs to take out the clothes, the dirty clothes, and also to cry to the mother and the father for a month, and also to cut the nails and and the hair as well. We do not need to read it, I think, but the idea is to purify, to like what you are speaking now, like to be rid of the accidental things, to the meetings, to the appointments, to the things that seems important to the world, to become pure, somehow. But I think that you just read before the comment on Venus, because for me it's very difficult to study alone, but I try hard to study the Torah when I can. But when we read it as we read a book, like read it in the flow, like reading the pages, it is very, very, very hard to break this clip, to break this vessel, this is external. Um, but it's a beautiful passage, and I thank you. It is a beautiful, since we think about the soul. So, thank you.
You're most welcome. And Fernando, you had another question about Luria and having children, or you remember?
Yes, because I was reading Isaac Luria, and he speaks also at that about the, he speaks that you must not read it literally. You must read it in the third level, and he has like he analyzed like word by word in this topic, and we could extend it. But even reading the Luria, we can see some uh, like some he gives some time to the importance of the sexual purity in this passage, like he speaks about the importance of the mikveh, and he speaks about the importance of being pure, and if you are not pure, you can bring demons to the world and everything.
I would like to
And
speak.
even
Yes, please,
yes, please,
Fernando.
because even if you are reading the secret, you can be be you can came down to the materia and think and be very, very heavy, the weight of the, like Venus said, I think in the commentary before, that it seems something very heavy, to listen and to read. So I would like to listen from you, Eti, about these ideas.
Many thorns went into the, how do you say, into the canal of time. Many thorns and all kinds of cut trees, and with time brought him with itself to our times a lot of writing. So first we have to put a frame. When we read the text from the times of Luria, and Luria was living in the beginning of the 16th century, something like 15 something, and until 15 something he lived 38 years in general, and he did not allow his student Rabbi Chaim Vital to write any of his teaching. He was teaching an oral Torah, and after teaching his student for 2 years, he moved away, he died, and Chaim Vital left with this until he wrote his books, and someone smuggled his books that in this time, in the 16th century, were written in a handwriting because there was no print yet here in the land, and smuggled them to Italy, and in Italy they are starting printing this handwriting. But this is the passage, this is the past, Fernando. Things that were written in handwriting, they suddenly smuggled to Italy, and there's a printing, and people start printing as the text comes without criticism. Do you understand this path? So many, in these times, people are still have this traditional tribal life, and there's no critical thinking, and people have all kinds of beliefs. So the text itself is like, yes, there are secrets in it, there is a lateral thinking, but there's a lot of other things which emerge into the text, because the text, when it moved to Europe or to Italy in the beginning of the 16th century, when there was still print in Italy, it did not go through editing. Gershom Scholem write about it a lot. As the notebook, somebody says and write a notebook, and this is moves, and people are printing it. And this is what the professors, this is their major work for generations, is to put an order to it. What was printed in this time? What was printed in this time? What is the source of the handwriting, and how do we find a footnote of this handwriting in this printed book, and so on? Do you understand?
Yes.
So,
Eti,
yes,
uh,
yes, yes.
could
That's
we
fine.
say that that we have like a contamination of the spirit of the time, maybe, like the
Like what? What is the word?
I don't know, like the spirit of the epoch, the spirit of the time, like the how people look at the world at that time,
Yes,
maybe.
yes, yes. This is it. This is what ran into the text. And now, if we read the text without critical, how do you say, way of look at things, and try to separate and say, okay, this is the lateral thinking, this is the letter, this is the numbers, this is the value, and this is the mathematical path or lateral thinking. You have to be very careful, very careful. It's like when we eat a food and we don't, we put everything on a plate before we sort or notice what do we eat. Okay, this is bread, and this is protein, and this is vitamin. So just it's not one dish. It's not. Do you understand, Fernando?
Yes, because it is interesting because we can fall in the same errors,
Yes,
as the
yes.
pshat level, you know.
When I started reading Luria, I really I asked myself what is happening, and I was reading parallel to Luria. I was reading Sholem, and I was reading others. And at the beginning, when you go to the text, to the depths of the text, to the lateral thinking, this is amazing. And you don't understand why the professors are writing what they write. But after being in the text for a while, I understand also the angle of the professors. And with the time, we develop filters that help us to see what is the lateral thinking and what is the frame of time that those people were active in, and just copy itself automatically to the text, and nobody bother to separate and to clean it. Do you understand? And about the fact that if a person does not purify himself before like contact with a woman, it's not about a woman and it's not about him. It's about a man in his thought. If a person is clear-minded, what comes from this clear-minded thinking is contact with reality. Contact with reality. Like you say shalom, I say shalom. This is contact. And look at the name Shaddai, the name of God Shaddai. It has Shin, Dalet, and Yod. The name Shaddai. The Yod is always the 10 and the covenant. But without the Yod, without the contact, this is Shin Dalet. This is demon, shed. And this is why they always mention that man is creating demons if he is not pure. It's not about relation between man and wife. It is if a person is not clear in his head and in his speech, what comes or what he creates in his speech and his relation to the world is demonized world, because he doesn't have an inner order inside of him. Do you understand?
It is amazing. Please.
And yes, and it's not a woman, his wife. The woman is the feelings and the sensations within himself. It's not about. It is very deep, but people.
I understood.
Do you see? It's a mix. It's a salad. A salad.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I have a bit of a view on that as well, that would show a pattern happening in another area of exactly that. In thoughts commonly, or occasions, actually, you have a scenario that you're in, and you have several choices that you can take it in any way that you like from there. You have a lot of outcomes where it will most likely come out as a negative, if not neutral, result, and uh, some more that you would have had to have thought about and intended on to come out in a positive way. But that same scenario can go in 100 different directions, depending on how you end up handling that moment itself. So you have the chance of 100 different outcomes that will end up negative. You have 100 more options to choose from where the scenario just stays stagnant and stays neutral and doesn't go anywhere, or you have 100 options where it comes out as a very positive result, but only one of those options is one that will carry out.
True. It is. It
So it
is.
does come down to choice.
I have a question to kind of add to what Philip just said. Thinking about the discussion, I'm thinking and you were mentioning about the soul. Um, the idea of the Yetzer Hatov as opposed to the Yetzer Hara, and how it relates to the discussion, and if it is so that the one you feed is the one that shows up, if you will, or becomes dominant, or is there a different perspective to look at the Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Hatov in regards to our choices?
Yeah. Yetzer the goodwill. The goodwill is the divine will to benefit and to bestow, and it is always go with reason. And the bad will or the evil will is the one who always wants to make chaos and fear and FUD. This is it. This is it.
If I could maybe even slightly change what I was
Yeah.
saying before as well, I think there's more of a chance of something negative coming out, because that's more like a random occurrence. It's hardly ever that something good happens in a random situation. So
Very good.
that's the
This is
more dominant scenario, which has the more chance of something negative. Until it becomes controlled and it's handled right, does something good come out of it?
Weiner speaks about it. He says if you don't have intention when you go out, you have an aim. Don't leave the house, meaning if you have something that you have to do and or meeting, and you go one with what you have. So you just don't go bumble on the street. He says this is no good. Even if you take power work in the morning or during the day, in the evening, depends on hemispheres, and so we define ourselves I want to do power work from A to B, and this is it. And to prevent as much as possible. I don't know what to do with myself. I will bumble or hang out in the street or in the promenade. No, 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 no.
Mm.
Don't. And see what God or the life will bring. No.
You're better off doing nothing. It's like Mum said, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing.
Yes. Just don't open ourselves into those on the street or somewhere in the world. I don't know what to do. Even little missions are considered to be missions because we have a conversation inside of ourselves. The sovereign inside has a conversation. He decides A, B, C, D, and he goes for it. He goes for it, and not
You could
live.
unknowing. Sorry.
Yes, Philip.
Apologies.
Sorry.
Apologies.
Yeah, it's okay. Yes. So we try and we have conversation with ourselves days and nights, and sometimes we spend many nights awake to converse here at home and to put things in their place. Filon says something very beautiful. He says, when something looks to us attractive or beautiful, it is because it has reason. And when things are ugly, it's because they are neglected and have no reason. It's like the maid in us is the one who neglects things. The virtue in us always take care of things. So if we take care of things, the virtue in us takes care of things. Everything is nice and beautiful, the plants, everything. And if the maid takes over or the slave in us takes over, so there's ugliness and neglection, chaos, arguments, and so on. Because things are not in their place.
You don't see anything happening in nature for no reason. Everything has a purpose.
Yes, everything. It's very accurate. Everything is very, very accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Shelton?
Yeah, I was thinking that going back to the Yetzirah or the good, or Yetzirah, the evil inclination versus Yetzirah, the good inclination. I've read where the Yetzirah can actually be a force for good because it motivates things like competition and childbearing and so forth. That some in an interesting way, that which doesn't seem to be light but darkness can give way to light. That which doesn't seem to be good can give way to goodness. That there is sometimes a convergence where the two become one force in life.
I
That was
will.
good. If
Thank you, Shelton. Thank you. I have to write to you. I would like to respond to what you say, Shelton. I will put it on Discord. This is a speech from Vinereb about what you just said. And I thank you for what you said. But I will have to respond to it later on Discord because our time here has arrived. So
if I could just add to before, because that was a pretty good run on not doing anything is better off than just doing things to do it. Walking down the road, as you were saying, you could even unknowingly get in other people's way as well, unintentionally. You didn't mean it or anything, but other people are around in space as well at the same time as you. So it is a big collective. It uses your time and it uses their time. So it comes down to your choice. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shelton, Fernando, Felipe, Venus, Daniel. Thank you so
Thank you,
much
Eddie.
for being here
Thank you for the
today.
time.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will answer you, Shelton, on Discord. And I hope to hear you or see you here again on Thursday. Toda and Shavuot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eddie.
Enjoy your
Thank
night.
you so much,
Shavuot
Eti.
Tov.
It was amazing. Shavuot Tov to all. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Shalom.